risen higher than the sky. Dreams so big, she's learning to fly. Family by her side, a twinkle in her eye. Building her empire, waving down goodbye. Pretty smart, and she's on a roll. Heart on fire, got an unshakable goal. Dreams of family, she's got the mix just right. Rising like the sun, burning so bright.
Welcome to Pretty Smart Business Podcast. I am your host, Sheena White. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Trista Guertin. And I probably said that wrong, so Trista will have to tell me how to actually say her last name when she comes on. She is a master coach and personal development expert with over 20 years of experience in leadership. She specializes in helping women in midlife, which everybody I know, I feel, is in midlife these days, break free from feeling stuck and overwhelmed through her transformational Unstuck program. Trista empowers women to build better relationships with themselves and unlock their true potential and create lasting change. Known for her compassionate, no-nonsense approach, she helps clients regain clarity, confidence, and energy to step boldly into the life they desire. Trista also shares her insights on self-discovery and transformation through her podcast, This Daring Adventure. I'm super excited to welcome Trista Guertin.
Hi there, Shayna. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so first, how do I say your last name? Did I totally destroy
It's
it?
close. Yeah, you could just say Guertin. It's my Guertin.
Okay. It's okay. My
Yeah.
last name for a while had 13 letters, so I feel your pain. I feel your pain. My kids still have all 13 of those letters.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so what led you to help women strengthen their relationships with themselves?
When I started coaching, so I started personally for myself, getting coached, taking care of a few relationship issues and career issues. And then I decided to enroll in the coach certification program. And at that time, I started coaching other women. I was getting coached. I was in different coaching containers, so listening to other women be coached. And one of the recurring themes that I kept hearing was that women thought they were doing it wrong, or there was something wrong with them. And the more I heard this over and over again, I just thought, this can't be right. Like, we can't all be wrong. We can't all be doing it wrong. Like, it just didn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so my mission became really to tell women, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing it wrong.
Okay, I love it.
There are reasons, right? Like, I've learned what's going on in our brain and the way we've been socialized and programmed and our experiences and everything. It makes sense what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody heard that message, and that the key, like the most important relationship we can ever have, is that relationship with ourselves. Learning how to build self-trust, self-love, self-acceptance. That's the foundation on which we build everything we want in our lives. But if everybody's running around thinking that there's something wrong with them, no wonder everybody's stuck.
I once read that they said you can't love anyone more than you love yourself. And as a mother, that actually, I don't know, it still affects me when I think about it, because sometimes I still struggle with self-acceptance and self-love. And so if that's true, man, I got to work on that. So then what are some common self-sabotaging patterns that are holding women back?
I see a lot of people pleasing, saying that they want to do something when they really don't, bending over backwards, just making a lot of concessions and just wearing themselves out, trying to make other people happy, to feel that they're loved, that they're appreciated, that they're respected, which is really just a hamster wheel that you have to get off of, or else you'll never get enough, right? But that
Yeah.
people pleasing, we see it shows up in every relationship, in every area of our lives, with our friends, with our family, with our kids, with our partners, with our bosses, with our colleagues. We are out there looking for that respect and appreciation and love because we think it has to come from external circumstances and relationships. And what happens is people end up getting frustrated and resentful and exhausted.
Yeah.
And they're not setting boundaries. Most of us do not know how to set boundaries. And there's this misconception that we think people should be respecting our boundaries. But the way I teach it is actually opposite to that, that we're creating boundaries for ourselves, for our self care, but we're the ones who have to act on them and uphold them, not for the other person to be respecting them. It's something that we have to do for ourselves.
Yeah. And especially as a coach myself with clients, a lot of times you want to make the client happy. So sometimes you
Mm,
just give and give. And I remember one time I had a client who they would call me at 6 a.m., they would call me at 10 p.m., and they'd call me on the weekend all the time. And then we had a death in the family, and then I had a funeral, and I told them, I was like, look, this one single day I'm not available. And midday they were blowing up my phone.
yeah.
And I was just like, man, you guys couldn't even respect this one day. But I realized I had trained them to do that. I had trained them that I was always available 24/7. And so whose fault was it really?
Yes. And we can make requests. We can ask
Hmm.
people, knowing that people are people and they're not going to listen. They're not going to behave as we think they should behave. It really does fall on us. If it's important to you, even if it's just something that you want, you don't need to justify your reason or explain it. But whatever it is, yes, you have to be the one to uphold it basically and to act on it every time.
Yeah. So, you specialize in helping women build unshakable confidence. So, what are some tips or things that people can do daily to help build that unshakable confidence?
There are a few things I think. One, I always recommend you have to stop the self talk that is damaging, beating yourself up, criticizing yourself, judging yourself. That narrative, those loops in your head serve no purpose. They're destructive, they're poisonous. Your brain is listening and it does nothing but undermine you. So they're not helpful. So you really want to gain awareness of what's going on in your mind and be very strict with yourself, or very stern. Just decide that you're going to stop that and that it's not appropriate and you're not going to allow it any longer. It's a practice. Obviously, I don't expect everybody to just be one and done and that's it. It stops
I
from
mean, that sounds nice, right? To me, because I have a pretty solid itty bitty shitty committee in my brain. And I think to myself, I'm going to stop. It's okay. That sounds great. But like, how do you
right. So
stop?
we always yeah, we always start with awareness.
Okay.
Obviously, just getting really clear about
Hmm.
when this is happening and trying to catch yourself in
Okay.
the moment as much as possible.
Okay.
And then I always think it's similar to with a toddler. Say the toddler's going to go touch a hot stove or a dog on a leash that's going to go roll around your mud. You're like, no, no, we're not. No, it just and be take that sort of tone with yourself that this is not acceptable, and you have to make that decision that this is just not acceptable any longer, and make sure that you are committed to that. Any process of change is going to take time and it's going to take effort.
Hmm.
Again, you're not going to end it in one day. Have that awareness of what's going on, try and catch yourself, make that decision that this is not going
Hmm.
to be acceptable, and then be stern with yourself when you catch that and just say no and refocus your brain. The more you do it, the better you will become at it. It's just learning anything new. It takes practice and it takes effort. So don't give up, don't despair, don't get frustrated with yourself. Have the love, have the compassion, that this is a process and little by little you'll start to to move away from that.
Okay. So awareness. I like that.
Right.
Yeah. Because sometimes you don't even realize you're doing it, I think.
True.
And
Yeah,
then
if
you
you've been
kind of
doing
like,
it for years and years, yeah, it's just normal, right? It's just something that goes on that we're not even fully conscious of. The other thing for confidence is learning how to be and allow with your emotions, which is a
okay.
part of the emotional resilience that I teach, because most of us aren't taught how to be and allow with our emotions. Most of the time we're reacting, or we're resisting, or we're shopping, or we're social mediaing, or Netflixing, or drinking a bottle of wine, or eating a carton of ice cream, whatever it is. We all have something that we like to partake in. Instead of feeling our emotions, we try to distract ourselves.
Yeah.
But the key is really to learn how to be with those emotions and allow them and process them through, which is a fairly simple activity. And then once you can do that, you realize your emotions aren't going to harm you, they're not going to kill you, and they will pass through you. Most of them will pass through you within a few moments or whatever. Like, there's not something that, necessarily that you're stuck in for days and days. And then you realize that you can handle those emotions. And so the key to confidence is understanding that you can feel any emotion and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because if you want to go to that next level, if you want to set that big goal or undertake any challenge, you're going to experience fear, you're going to experience doubt, you're going to experience maybe overwhelm, all of these things. There's a lot of discomfort. So being able to allow for that and process it through and keep going, that's really the key, because otherwise we let the fear stop us. We take it as a stop sign. And then you're not challenging yourself. You're not setting those big goals. You're not going after what you really want.
Yeah. Like in one of my favorite books, Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Have you read that book? It's one
Mhm.
of my favorite books. I have like
Yes.
cheetahs everywhere and stuff because of it. Anyways, she says that feelings are for feeling. And the first time I heard it, I was like, what? That seems so simple. But then I realized, I was like, oh man, she's talking about like not numbing. And I think everybody, we were talking about the different things we do. And I think that everybody does have something where they use it to like numb out. So you don't have to feel the feelings. And especially if you're in, I'm a domestic violence survivor. So when you're in those sorts of situations and you feel super stuck, like being numb is the only really thing you know how to do in a way. So it's sometimes hard to snap out of it, or I hate saying that, but get in a pattern of not numbing out and actually just like feeling into the feelings so you can move on.
And really understanding that any emotion that you're feeling, again, isn't right, isn't wrong, isn't good, isn't bad. It's just part of our human experience. Just allow that, and that really is the key to moving ourselves forward and not staying stuck. And then I have a process where we learn how to actually create the emotions that we want on purpose. So you're allowing what's come up, but then you learn how to generate what you need on purpose. So that's when
Okay.
you really can create the confidence, create the determination, create the focus, create the motivation that you need. Again, to go after whatever it is you want, create that result, achieve that goal.
It's like in your brain, fear and excitement are actually the same chemicals.
Yes.
So I've heard that you can morph one into the other if you want.
Yeah. And I think, again, it just comes down to really just allowing that and what you're thinking about it too, right? Like it would be a thought process. Okay, this is also excitement. This is something that is helpful, and it is not necessarily a bad thing. And using that to move yourself forward as well, for sure. Getting conscious about what you're thinking and creating that shift for yourself, that this is also excitement, and this is also because I'm learning something new and I'm creating change in my life. That's absolutely part of the process.
I love it. So, how can women tap into their power in everyday life?
I think, first of all, realizing that they have that power in the
Okay.
first
I like it.
place. Because again, I think it comes back to understanding that there's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing anything wrong. This is all a part of our human experience. And you are 100% worthy. That's the baseline. You are a human on the planet, so you are 100% worthy just for being here, and so is everybody else. And then, yes, realizing that you have so much more power than you realize, because all of these external circumstances are just that, circumstances. And we get to choose how we respond every moment of every day. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that. I know thoughts come up quickly, emotions come up quick, and it feels like we're just
Yeah.
reacting. But the truth is, our brain is conditioned. We get in that fight or flight. We have history and a past that our brain is using in order to respond. So understanding that there are a number of processes going on, but that if we can slow that down, become aware, understand that we have the ability to respond in any way that we want, and then learning to do that. But if anything, it's just you have so much more power than you think. And that's the starting point.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is deciding to own it and having the choice between having, so we say you can choose between everything happening to you or for you,
Yes, I love
you
that.
know, and it's like just a perspective shift, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Because if everything's happening for you, even the bad stuff, then you know that at some point it'll come around and be a good thing, or I guess a positive influence.
And that's what you're priming your brain to look for. Because if you're thinking of it as a problem, or it's an attack, or it's something against you, then that's what your brain is going to look for evidence for, and that's what you're going to create. But
Yeah.
if you have that shift where you're like, this is happening for me, then your brain is like looking for that evidence to prove that true. And then that's what you create. So it's extremely powerful, just that simple shift, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes everybody goes through hard things. Another Glennon
Yep.
Doyle is we can do hard things.
Love that too.
Especially as women, when I see some people and they want to, I don't know, it's like they want to like, it's almost like a blame game. Oh, I'm here because of this, because of that. But to me, I feel that's really disempowering.
It is.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I agree with you that like that taking ownership. So what are, if somebody's like just feeling stuck, feeling bad, what's the best place to just start?
Spending some time, first of all, okay. So let me start again. I go back to, this is not your fault, and there's nothing wrong with you. If you're feeling
Okay.
stuck, there's a reason, there's something, there are thought processes in your brain and your experience and your socialization. There is a reason for this to happen. And I think it is really important that you don't blame yourself. You give yourself a lot of love and compassion,
Okay.
and that they're eliminating that criticism, the judgment, the name calling, and all of those things. And then just getting quiet, getting still, thinking about what it is you want. If you're feeling stuck because you don't know what you want, just taking some time. I always recommend do some journaling, go for walks, spend some quiet time, meditate, whatever it is that you like to do, to give yourself that space and that grace to start to tap in and listen to that voice. A lot of times, especially as women, we have a lot of demands on our time. And if we're working, if we're relationships, kids, careers, all this going on in our lives, it's very difficult to listen to that voice inside of us, that nudge, our desires. We've often pushed them away for so long. So just giving yourself that space and that time, and be curious, and ask your brain, if I did know what I want, what might it look like?
I
What
like
might
that.
be possible for me? And just get your brain, again, it's what do you want your brain to focus on? And that's what it will start to collect information for. If we leave our brain, if we just leave it to our own devices, it will default to the negative. It will look for problems. It will just create more circumstances that are based on our past. And so often people base, what's possible for them and what's possible for their future based on their past. But the future is wide open. And it really comes down to what's your capacity and what do you want. So taking that time to figure that out and then doing that work. I do this in my coaching program, and it's the first thing that we do is looking at what's the story that you're telling about your past and what's the story that you're telling about yourself. Because if it's just all based on what's happened before, it's not helpful. It's not empowering. So just spending some time, again, awareness, consciously, what am I thinking? What's the story that I'm telling myself? Is it helpful? Or do I want to reframe that to open myself up to what's possible in the future?
Yeah. No, I love that. I have a mentor, Taylor Welch, and he talks about reframing the past a lot. And he says your past can be your greatest asset or your greatest liability, and you get to choose. And I think a lot of times people who are feeling stuck, it's because they're allowing their past to be a liability, right? They're
Mhm.
allowing it to keep pulling them down
Right.
instead of doing that reframe work
Right.
and seeing how it can be an asset, seeing how it can be fuel for the future, taking your pain and making it your purpose, or any of the other platitudes people say.
Yeah. No, it is really true. And I think it is some of the most important work. For me, it's like putting that baggage down because we just drag this for years and years. And it's just not helpful. That's it. It's not wrong. It's not about being right or wrong or good or bad again, but it's just this isn't helpful. And at some point when we're growing up as we're children and teenagers and maybe even early 20s, we're so focused on the future, like what we're going to do and what we're learning and all the firsts and all that. And then at some point, we buy the house, we get married, we have the kids, we have the career, and we stop looking forward and seeing what's possible for us. We've just checked all the boxes, and then we start looking backwards to our past and what we've done to define our future. And when we do that, I think we start to just create more of the same. And we get stuck in these thought patterns and in these stories and these limiting beliefs. And so we land up living the same day after day, month after month, and it becomes years. And so it really is important to do some of that reflection, take stock, and just be really conscious about what you want to focus on, because it's your thinking, all the thinking that you've had over the past several years, decades, that got you to this point. So if you want to get unstuck, if you want to make changes, if you want to go to the next level, you have to get really conscious about what you're thinking and if it's helpful. And if it's not, then you want to start to change it, because that it's your current thinking that got you here. You want to go somewhere else, you have to learn how to think intentionally and on purpose,
Yeah.
and then create
Change
that.
the input to change the output.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what is like one like last thought or like tip you can give our listeners?
I want people to really understand how intricate and involved the relationship is between our thoughts and our feelings. And just again, start with that awareness. Take 5 minutes and journal. I always, first thing with my clients is, do you have a journal? You have to spend even 5 minutes. Just get conscious about what you're thinking. And I think that process alone starts to create a shift and starts to create a change, right? As soon as you're aware of something, then it can start to change. So that's something simple that you can look at. And again, you're looking for, how am I talking to myself? How am I thinking about myself? And what am I thinking about my past? And then see, okay, is this helpful? Where can I make some changes? And that's a really simple, powerful process that can start right away.
I love it. Does it have to be a journal like writing, or can they do like a voice note?
I suppose you could do a voice note. It's just taking that time to reflect and to
Okay.
get in touch. Now, I like a journal because then you can see it in black and white in front of you. And I think that can also help the process.
Okay.
But again, with the voice note, there's still that release.
Okay. I
And
got you.
then you can always go back and listen to it. So you still have some of that ability to reflect and hear back and get conscious about what's going on.
I love it. Okay. So, how can our listeners connect with you if they are ready to get unstuck?
I have my website, so that's tristaguertin.com. And I have my podcast, which has lots of great material. So that's thisdaringadventure.com. And it's also on all the streaming platforms as well. And then I am also fairly active on Instagram.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
that's a good place to find me. So I'm at Trista V Guertin there. And I have lots of material accessible there for people to find.
Awesome. I love it so much. Thank you so much, Trista, for being on the Pretty Smart Business podcast. And I can't wait to collaborate with you more in the future.
Thank you, Shayna. Thank you very much for having me on today. It was a pleasure.